Hey there, dance lover. It is Brittany here. I I wanted to share a truth that I have that is a little bit alarming, and it's something that's taken me a long time to be able to actually say and have it be something that I believe and understand to be true. Getting injured while I was training professionally was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know, I sound totally out of my mind. She's crazy. Getting injured is terrible. Let me tell you, the only reason why I'm able to say this now, we're 5 years plus 6, 7 years out from when I originally got injured. But I want to give you a little bit of background about why I feel this to be true, and why I know that getting injured could do something for the same, could be the same for you. When I first got injured, when I first broke my foot, it was by far the worst thing that ever happened in my life. As I was to have this conversation with me then and me now, she would be really mad at me. But I remember being sad. I remember being told that I wasn't going to be able to dance for the rest of the season, that I wasn't going to be able to perform. I was told that I was going to be out for 3 months easily. I had fractured my fifth metatarsal on my right foot, and it was not really coming up on x-rays, but I was getting a severe amount of pain. It was localized, as in it was specifically in one spot. It was radiating. All of the results of what I was trying to deal with were radiating up my leg and into my hip, and places where I already had issues in my hip. So a lot of things were just coming together, and I was absolutely devastated. I remember it was like an out-of-body experience. I remember watching the dance trainer tell me that I wasn't going to be able to dance, and I probably cried some of the hardest I've ever cried in my life. And I had sustained a bunch of different injuries growing up, but I just never remember it being that intense, right? Nothing as intense as breaking your foot. And I knew I wanted to do something about it, and that became a pivotal moment in my life, because once that injury happened and once someone told me you are not going to be able to dance, I had to do something about it if I wanted to change that reality. So I had my boot on. I went back into taking classes and going to rehearsals. I took all of my classes. The first couple classes I went into, we didn't really have a program set up for me to be able to participate or modify, and I was in a boot, so I wasn't going to be able to do much anyway. But I sat there. I remember being in my big jacket. It was freezing in the studio. I was miserable. And I said to myself, there's got to be something else, right? It's just from my knee down. The rest of my body still works. So I started laying on the floor in class and putting my foot up on the chair in my boot, and my air cast, and taking class on the floor and doing work for my belly. And I started asking questions to the dance specialists around me, and my trainer, who I worked with closely. I asked questions about the body, and I started to learn about how my body works. I started to learn about how I got to breaking my foot, right? You don't just, this wasn't a freak accident, right? You don't just break your foot while you're dancing. Something had led up to me being really unstable, not being able to control my placement and my weight on my releve, and that was what led me to breaking my foot, along with a lot of other strains that had come before that actual moment. So I wanted to know why. I wanted to know what I could have done better to help prevent it. I wanted to know what was happening inside my body while I was dancing. I was so used to seeing what everything looked like on the outside and understanding that picture, but I had no idea what was going on inside my body and all the important factors that played into a potential injury. And that's when everything changed. And that's why I think that getting injured was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I never would have taken on that lens. I started to take on that role in understanding my body and diving into body sciences and studying anatomy in a different perspective, studying physiology in a different perspective about what it looked like for a dancer. I started to study nutrition with the understanding of being an athlete. I started to understand technique. I started to take all of that information and put it into dance technique, because I was also studying for my master's in dance education. I was going to be a teacher, and I originally thought that I went into teaching because I wanted to be able to share in the joy of dance with young children. I still do that. I still love that. And I work specifically with like preschool kids in that area, because I love that journey of expression and being able to support and cultivate that. But my love of teaching dance and teaching dance on a professional and within dance technique isn't necessarily about the expression. It's about how do I bring the sciences into what the dancers are learning to help them safely enhance their dance abilities, to help them to not have to endure all of the injuries and the dislocated knees and the ankle sprains and the hip sprains and just all of the things, and the back pain, all the things that I experienced that I didn't know how to deal with, and I didn't know that I could do anything towards in addressing my technique to help me dance better and feel better even when I wasn't dancing. So my entire way that I saw dance, the entire way that I saw movement, the way that I saw my body, everything just shifted in that pivotal moment of me getting injured. And it never would have happened if I hadn't gotten injured. I don't know where my life would be if I hadn't gotten injured. I never would have dove into the sciences. I never would have been able to help and have the impact that I have with dancers. I never would have gotten into dance wellness. I never would have gotten into the body wellness. I would be a totally different person in my career. And I am so, so grateful for the level of understanding I have, the community of people that I work with, the dancers that I get to work with. I would never want to give that up. And it has taken me a long time to realize when I got injured that day I fell and my foot was broken, it was the greatest thing that ever could have happened to me, because it put me in a place where I could stand ground and find my purpose within the dance world. So I understand being injured and being told that you are not allowed to dance is literally the end of the world. It feels like the world is crashing down on you when we're passionate and we love what we do. But the goal, what's more important when you're injured, is to be aware of what your limitations are. You want to be able to dance. If I hadn't done what I had to do for my foot, I would have been in my cast for over 6 weeks. Over three months. I only had to be in my cast for 6 weeks because I was super diligent about what I was doing. I started to strength train other areas. I learned about what I needed to do to take care of myself. I was really diligent, and that helped me decrease my amount of time injured. And then I got to come back to dance with modifications and build up my strength. And I got to dance more because of that, as opposed to me ignoring an injury, dancing through it, having it be more drastic and causing more damage, and then potentially ending my career in totality. But that made a huge difference. I can dance now, as I'm getting to 30, I dance better now than I ever did as a youth dancer, because I've spent so much time working on my strength, working on my stability, working on all other aspects of my function in movement safely, and caring for my body. I think about, I never could go upside down. I never knew how to be inverted, and now I can do that really well and safely. I never understood how to rotate using my hips well in my first position in ballet training. I can do that well now. I never had any leg extension height. Oh my god, it was totally awful. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. And I always had one leg going higher than the other, and I could never figure out what the difference was. I have even leg extension, and I can keep pressing my leg as high as I want it to go. But that level of understanding, without that pivotal moment of being able to shift the way that I saw dance and the way I understood my body and understood dance and movement in general, I wouldn't be here today. So yes, that on the scale of things, when it happened, it felt like I was falling into the depths. But now when I look back, I see it was just this little dink. And after this little dip, it helped me skyrocket to being a dancer, being a mover, being an educator, being a teacher, being a coach, being a researcher, being something I never could have seen myself actually being if it hadn't happened. So the next time you're facing an injury or you're experiencing something that feels like the end of the world in dance, what can you learn from it? What signals are you is the world trying to tell you, right? Is the dance world trying to tell you? And how can you take that moment, take care of yourself, and make something better in the future for you and hopefully for the rest of the dance community? So this is my story. That's a big part of my story of how I got here. Was if I didn't get injured, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't be here with you today, and I'm so grateful for having the chance to do that and interact with dance teachers and dancers and dance medical professionals and the whole spectrum of what it really takes to be a part of the dance community. I wouldn't have access to all of that if I didn't go through what I did. So when you are injured, I'm here for you. But remember, there's so much more to come than what you're feeling right now, and you will overcome it. And I can't wait to see where all of your passion leads you. Thanks for tuning in to this little chat of truth and tips and just insight into my background. I can't wait to hear more of your story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can check out if you're looking for any specific training tips or anything. We have so many more videos coming up on the site that you can dive into, but I will see you guys really soon.